So this is going to be, normally this is my third lesson, but this is going to be your second lesson because we have you coming in tomorrow for a, oh my God, where are you going? For a lesson, and I figured this is a good opportunity to go over what we're going to do in your lesson so that way you can kind of see it first, and then tomorrow you get the opportunity to do it hands-on. So Maverick has already done this lesson, so he's going to be pretty much on autopilot. This just gives me the opportunity to talk you through what we're doing. So today we're going to be teaching the place bed. He already knows what we're doing. He's like, I know this thing. This is where I get all my treats. This place is amazing. I like that he went up on the bed. I can click and I can reward. Okay? Free. So before we really get into it, just remember the clicker still acts exactly the same way. When he does something I like, I'm going to click and reward. As you can see, he loves the place bed already. So every time he gets all 4 feet on the bed, I'm going to mark and reward. Okay? I'm going to stop him from going up there just so I can kind of talk through what we're going to do first. It is a little windy and the road is kind of noisy out here, but hopefully you can hear me okay. I have my microphone and everything. So, okay. So when we think about the place bed, it's this big old rectangle. We treat it like we treat the crate. The crate is a rectangle, has 3 walls, and one side has a door, right? So we want our dog to go in and out through the door. So if you notice, when he went on through this little short side here. When he came off through the same side. So we're going to call that the door, just for reference and just so that way you can understand what I say when I say like the door instead of saying the front side, because that could get confusing. So we're going to call this the door, okay? So what we're going to do is he's going to go on, and he's going to go on through the door. When he gets all 4 paws on, I'm going to click, and then I'm going to place the food onto the bed just inside the door. So let me demonstrate so you can kind of see what that's going to look like. Now, we've been doing a lot of healing, so when you first start doing this, if he wants to be on your left-hand side, let him be on your left-hand side. He doesn't have to be on your side for this because this lesson we're just doing place. We're not really worried about healing at this moment. So when he goes up there, I'm going to mark and I'm going to reward. Good. And again, I'm placing it just inside the door here and letting him eat it off the bed. Free. Okay. And we're just going to do that a bunch of times. Now, if you notice, I'm not saying anything. I'm not telling him to do this. If he were scared of it, I might give him some encouragement, like, come on, puppy, it's okay, whatever, free, all right? But what I am saying is I'm saying his release word. His release word is the word free. So free means he's allowed to come off the bed. Free. Free is going to be a word we are going to use for all of our behaviors when we want our dog to be done doing the behavior, right? So when I want him to come off the bed, I'm going to say free. Free. Now what free means is that he's allowed to stop doing that behavior, but he doesn't necessarily have to. So when I tell my dog free, he can come off if he wants to, but he doesn't necessarily have to come off the bed, okay? So when I tell him free, he can come off. Free. Good. Now, I don't reward off of the bed during this lesson because I want everything good to be about the bed, all right? Everything great that happens on the bed for this lesson. As we go on later, we start to combine skills. Then we'll talk about doing other skills off the bed and rewarding those. Right now, we're just worried about the bed. Free. Now, when we are at this stage, we're not really asking him to stay up there too long. Free. I really just want him to go on, get rewarded, come off. Free. 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 Now, if you notice, I am saying the word free before I step. Free, and then step. So when I want him to come off the bed with me, free, I have to tell him that before I move. Because what's going to happen is eventually, free, I'm going to want him to stay there when I move away, but he's going to have to know which is which. So I need to be able to tell him before I start moving what it is I want him to do when I do move. So when I do move, I want to say free, and then we're gonna move, okay? And hear me clicking when he has all 4 paws on the bed, free, and then step. Now when I want him to come off the bed with me, I'm stepping off with my left foot. So free, step with my left foot, okay? Free. All right, so right now, free. He's doing a really good job going on the bed, very predictably, very enthusiastically. He's going on there with a great mindset. Free. I am very confident when I move towards the bed, he's gonna go right on, right? When the behavior becomes very predictable and I'm very confident that he's going to do it when I expect him to do it, this is when I can start to name this behavior, okay? Free. So all I'm gonna do is say the name right before he gets on. So place. Everything else stays the same. Free. Place. Good. So when I first start naming this behavior, I'm saying it right before his first foot hits the bed. Free. Place. So at this stage, he doesn't know that I'm saying place and he's going on there because I've said place. He's hearing the word place right before he's doing the behavior he was going to do anyways. Free. So we're just making this association, place, with I say the word, you do the thing. Now, the other thing we've established is that I say free and he comes off. In future repetitions, we might not say free, right? Because we're going to ask him to stay up there longer. And then if he comes off the bed, there might be a negative consequence. We'll get into those in a bit. Free. But we want to create this habit of saying free and having him come off. So that way when we do ask him to stay up there and he makes a mistake, he'll understand the difference. Free. So he doesn't come off the bed until he hears free. Good. All right. Free. Place. Good. Now, what's also nice about this is that he's so predictable with it that I know when I start to move towards the bed that he's going to go to the bed. Free. So I can start to name it a little bit earlier. Place. I'm going to start to say it before I even begin to move towards the bed. Now he's going to start to realize that the word place initiates the action to the bed. So free, place, and then move towards the bed, click, free, step, place, click. Now something else I want you to pay attention to is how slow I'm going. Free, there's no big rush to do everything. Place. After I click, I set myself in this position here, the heel position, right? Just like we practiced yesterday or in the previous lesson where everything happens in the heel position, including this. So, free, place, free, step, place, click, put the food just inside the door, free, and step. Place. The reason why this is important is because our dogs, free, won't be able to distinguish place, our audio cues from our visual cues. So if I say free and step at the same time, free, he might be cueing off of my foot, place, instead of my words. So then when I do try to move away, it's going to be very confusing for him. So I want him to hear free, and then we move together. I know, you were eating, you didn't hear me. Free, place, so I want you to think about each little step that you're doing and separate each behavior into its own little moment, okay? So each behavior, each action has its own moment. So free, step, place, move towards the bed, click, square up, reach in the pouch, put the food down, he's gonna eat them, free, step, okay? There's no rush, place, and don't worry, this is the hardest part. Free. Place. The hardest thing for any new handler to do is to separate what we're doing with our hands from what we're doing with our mouth, or separate what we're doing with our feet, our hands, and our mouth. So, free, step, place. Now, what I am going to start to look for is I'm going to start to say that word place, and then a little bit of a pause before I start moving towards the bed. What I'm looking for is for him to hear the word and start to make that decision before I do to go towards the bed, right? So that's going to tell me he's starting to understand what I'm saying. So free. So place. Good. Not quite yet. I think he's starting to get there though. I mean, we have been doing this for a couple days. Free. Place. A little extra style points for a spin. Free. Place. Now, the other thing we did start doing is we started to really encourage him to go into this down position on the place bed. I really like it when they go into this down, because the place is a thing we're going to use, a skill we're going to use to help our dog relax, chill out, calm down in situations where I might be busy, right? I have things to do around the house and I don't want to have my dog sit in the kennel all day. It's a lot easier and nicer to have my dog maybe relax on the place bed. Now, the place is one of those behaviors that when my dog is doing this, he can't be getting into trouble. He can't be getting into the trash or picking up socks or getting into other things he's not supposed to. The place is a place where he's going to be safe, and it's also a place to relax. He's going to have a ton of positive association, and everything's going to be great. Free. Place. Free. Place. So the way that we really start to encourage that down behavior is we start to delay our marker until our dog not only goes up on the bed, but also goes into that down. Now, the place bed is a skill that our dog should be able to do for really, really long periods if we really want them to, like half an hour to an hour even. But maybe laying on his left hip gets a little uncomfortable and he wants to shift to his right hip. Or maybe he wants to turn around and, maybe he wants to sit, maybe he wants to stand. I want him, no, place. I want him to feel comfortable while he's up on this bed. So we don't want to make that down a requirement. So he can get up and adjust as long as he stays on the bed. Good. Now, a lot of dogs might just go up there and fall asleep, which is great, whatever. So, free. The way we get from where we are now, place, to our dogs staying up there for longer durations, and while we are further away, because right now we're right next to the bed, is we start to increase the duration that the dog is up there. So if you notice, while I'm here, I can mark and I can reward. What I can also do is I can say place, mark, and reward. So we're going to do this a few times to create more duration. So place, place, place. Remember, everything gets its own moment. Place, 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 place. Basically, he's learning the longer I stay up here, the more food I get. Place, 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 place. Now, it might seem a little silly, but this is going to help create a really good foundation for having a skill where our dog can stay up here for really long periods of time, while we're further away, while we're doing all sorts of crazy stuff, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start to add distance, right? My dog being up there for a long time is great, but it doesn't help if I can't go and do other things, right? So we're gonna start to add distance. Now, like I said, place. When I want my dog to come with me, I'm gonna step off with my left foot. If I want my dog to stay where they are, I'm gonna use my right foot. So, little thing I tell myself to remind myself, when I left the bed, my dog left with me, but I want him to stay right there, right foot, okay? So left with me, stay right there, okay? We don't say stay, we're just gonna say place. So anytime I say place or any other command, the expectation is my dog is to do that behavior until I tell him otherwise. Now, you saw he already made one little mistake, place. If he comes off the bed, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna give him a little leash pop like you saw in the video, and then I'm gonna remind him place and help him back up there. Place, okay? These mistakes are more likely to happen as we increase the time we expect our dog to be up there, as well as how far we get from our dog. The further we are from our dog, the more likely they are to make a mistake. Place. The other thing is, we're gonna increase our duration. We're gonna increase our distance next. And then once all of that is very solid, then we're gonna start to add in those distractions, okay? But let's focus on distance first. So when I wanna start to move away from my dog, I wanna leave with my right foot first. Now, I wanna make it very easy for my dog to stay up there as I move away. So I'm gonna give him a little bit of a visual cue. I'm gonna tell him place first. So I'm gonna say place, and I'm gonna build up to standing in front of him like this, right? Because the only way off the bed is through the door. We've done this so many times that he thinks that that's the only way off, which is great. So I'm gonna say place, I'm gonna take a little baby step in that direction. I'm gonna come back to this position, I'm gonna mark, I'm gonna reward. So place, baby step, come back, mark, reward. Place, baby step, come back, mark, reward. Now you see when I step, he gets excited, right? He thinks it's coming off. Place, because we did a million repetitions of us stepping forward and him coming off the bed. Place. But now we're teaching him a slightly different picture. We're using the other foot, place, and we're gonna start to step out in front of him, like get in his way essentially. Place. Kind of screwed that one up a little bit. Place, step. So when you come back to this position, this is where the rewards happen. Place. Oh, my bad. That was the wrong click. Place, step, return, click, feed. So the thing is, you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. It's a kind of confusing, hard thing to pick up when you're first getting started. Totally natural. But it helps our dog learn very clearly what's expected. So place, I step out in front of him, come back to the side, click. We're just creating this habit of nothing good happens until I return to this position. Place. So eventually I'm going to get out in front of him, I'm going to move away from him, and nothing good's going to happen until I come all the way back to here, and that's when he's going to expect his reward. So place, back out to the side, click, reward. So there's no rush, place, for him to get up and come towards me, because nothing good happens until I'm back here and I click and I reward him on the bed. Place. And again, if he decides to come off, I'm just ready to say NO and give him a leash pop. Place. 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 What I'm also doing is I'm starting to slowly add a little bit of duration while I'm out in front of him. Place. I want him to realize that there's no rush to get up. Now, as we start to move further away, place. You don't have to return to this front position before going back to his heel position. So I can just go straight back to the heel position. So even if I'm like 6 feet away, When I come back, I can just come straight over here. I don't have to go to that front again. Place. This is just to let him know that, hey, I'm going away, but I want you to stay right where you are. Now, I do want to start to move away slowly. So right now I'm using spatial pressure to keep him on the bed. Like I'm in the way, making it hard for him to come off the bed. The thing is that spatial pressure works both ways. So when there's increased spatial pressure, it's pushing him back. But when I back up, if I back up suddenly, it creates like this space vacuum. And he's going to want to fill that space. So he's going to want to come towards me, right? Especially since the past few days, we've been doing all stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, be by my side, be with me, place. So if I do start to move away, he's going to think, oh, I'm supposed to be with you because that's what we've been doing for the past 2 days, right? So I want to make sure that there's no rush to start to get really far away. I don't want to push him until he breaks. I want to push him as far as I believe he can be successful. Place. And I'm not worried if he's off sniffing the edges. What I am paying attention to is as long as all 4 paws are on the bed, he's fine. If any of those paws come off the bed, no, pop, place. Place. Good. See that? So what he's doing right now is he's thinking. He's thinking really hard about what it is he's supposed to be doing. So you saw he's like, am I supposed to come to you? Am I supposed to stay up here? He made the right choice. He laid down. Beautiful. All right. These are what I call golden opportunities. Those are golden moments where he is really thinking. That's where the learning is really happening. Place. 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 And again, I'm adding a little bit of, no, pop, place. So now when I go back, I'm not going to reward him because he made a mistake. Place. Our dogs start to figure out these routines, right? Because what will happen is eventually we're going to start to ask him to stay up there for really long durations. And so if I'm expecting him to stay up there for a 5-minute place stay, and he thinks that if he breaks 30 seconds in and I correct him, I put him back on the place bed, and then I'm going to give him a reward before I start over again. Well, now he just got his reward 4.5 minutes earlier than he was planning on, or than I was planning on rewarding him. Now, our dogs figure that stuff out. So, place, if our dog makes a mistake, I don't want to make it a reward event, right? I don't want to bring him back to where he was supposed to be and then give him a reward, because he's going to figure out, if I just want to get my treat, I'll just make a mistake, I'll get a little correction, but at least I'll get my cookie, right? So our dogs figure that stuff out pretty fast. So we need to be consistent, that we only reward for good repetitions. Now, if he makes a mistake, what I am going to do is I'm going to make the next repetition a bit easier. Place. It means I was pushing him too far, too fast. So as you can tell, I'm slowly adding a little bit of distance, and I'm slowly adding a little bit of duration. I'm also slowly adding distraction, which is me talking and me moving and things like that while I'm away from him. All right. Now those distractions are going to get more increased as time goes on. Place. But this is going to be the goal for our lesson when you come in for tomorrow. You are going to be doing this. He's going to be familiar with it. It's going to make it a lot easier for you to be successful with what you're doing. Good. Now you see here, he's thinking about coming off the bed. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to stop him. He needs to learn that my decisions, or his decisions, have consequences. His decision to stay up there has a very good consequence. I come back, I give him his treat, and he did a good job. Yes, he did. Place. If he makes a decision to come off the bed, then that's going to have that no, pop, place, right? So allowing him to make those decisions for himself and understanding and learning what the consequences of those decisions are is a really important part of training. When we talk about management is not allowing our dogs to make bad decisions in the first place, which is important to an extent, but there is going to be a point where our dog has to learn, hey, my choices, my actions have consequences. And it allows our dogs to make those decisions on their own independently and make better decisions for themselves in the long run. All right, we're going to reward him and we're going to finish up with this lesson because he's doing very good. So remember, when I want him to come off, I'm going to say his release word and I'm going to step with my left foot and then we're going to be done. And I'll see you tomorrow. Free!